fun begins.
Hello everybody, welcome to BrickVault and thanks for joining me in today's video about this incredible new custom build. If you're a longtime fan on the channel, you might have a deja vu right now, because we already reviewed a custom ARC-170 a few years ago. This model was designed by pro builder Thomas Jenkins, who also did the V-Wing, Z95, V19, Resistance A-Wing, Droid Starfighter, Droid Gunship and the recently released updated versions of the Republic Gunship and Jedi Interceptors. Now he tackled another update, but like his other updates, it is much more than just that. This breathtaking ARC-170 Starfighter has been designed from the ground up. It literally shares nothing with its predecessor other than the name and the same in-universe vehicle that it is based on. The aggressive ReConnaissance 170 Starfighter, or short ARC-170 Starfighter, is a highly advanced heavy-duty starfighter from the Clone Wars era and was built by the Incom Corporation, the same company that also designed the Z95 Headhunter and the X-Wing. It has a few distinctive features that can only be found in the Starfighter, like the famous shape of the wings in attack position, the 3-man crew and the rear-facing turret. All of that led to this being one of my all-time favorite sci-fi ship designs of all time, and this model is scratching all of the white spots in my brain. If you also have this itch and need something to scratch it, you can find the instructions and the parts list on BrickVault.toys, so this model can be built by yourself if you so choose. We always make sure that all of our designs are able to be built in real life, are fun in the process, and the pieces are available and cheap on the brick buying market. So that's www.brickvault.toys, or click the first link in the video description. And let's get back to this beauty of a Lego build. It has a wingspan of 57 centimeters, which is quite impressive, and to give you a rough idea of the size of this model, I actually happen to own the 2005 ARC-170 set, both sealed and built, and I think this is a really interesting comparison. The 2005 set holds up incredibly well to today's standards in my opinion, but that new model by Thomas just is on a level of its own. I always like to compare it to other minifig scale builds in the studio to see how the vehicles would scale to each other in universe, and especially to other Republic vehicles. I had an absolute blast building this model with its 2000 parts, especially the fuselage was a really refreshing section to build, and you make good progress quickly. It comes with a black stand that angles it slightly backwards, and that just slides into a slit on the underside of the model, so it's super easy to remove. It's such a clean look on the stand, but focusing on the Starfighter itself, you can see that a ton of super difficult angles have been achieved here. You may know that one of my favorite techniques is the use of panel pieces to minimize gaps, and Thomas used this wonderfully all throughout. This build not only tries to minimize gaps, but also studs. I think there is a perfect amount of studs here, so you can still make out this is a Lego build, but it also looks super clean with all the smooth surfaces. One of the most important things to get right is the front, since that's what makes the face of the ship, and Thomas really did a great job here. I always enjoy seeing different techniques for this section, not only in the Lego sets, but also in mocks, and I think Thomas is the one who did it best to date. A little further back we have the first of 3 cockpits that can be opened up to access the pilot position. That looks really cushy and has a small flight console. Making our way back, we see a few shapes coming together in interesting ways around the second cockpit. You can also open that up to fit another minifig inside. Interestingly, this section features 2 cockpit pieces to get the transparent sections just right. This was something that I was pleasantly surprised by when I encountered it in the instructions, because I think this is an innovative way of doing it. Right behind this cockpit we have the all-important astromech, but this is much more than just that. Eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that this is not a full astromech minifig, but just the head and the shoulders are regular pieces. This has a really cool reason, because as you turn the astromech head, the wings can open up and close at a surprisingly fast speed. This is the coolest thing ever in my opinion, and it gets rid of the openly shown gear that's always there when you have a feature like this. such an innovative way to integrate this feature, and I think this is also the perfect speed that the wings open. You don't have to turn the astromech head for 2 minutes to see movement. On the back you have the third cockpit that houses the gunner position for the rear facing turrets. There is one on the top and one on the bottom, and technically they are able to be adjusted a bit, but I think they look the best like this. Also, quick appreciation of the mudguard piece around the turret. Opening this cockpit is a tiny bit more difficult because the cockpit piece sits quite deep in the build, but of course you can also put a minifig inside. The main wings are mostly snot, so studs not on top, to make them as smooth as possible. They are built in a way that interlocks the different sub-assemblies to make them as sturdy as possible without using obvious lift arms, and that works really well. The smaller wings are made up of plates and tiles to make them a little slimmer. The underside is detailed as well and has been covered up really well, so this is a build that you could easily hang on your ceiling, for example, and it looks good from all angles. The build is surprisingly sturdy, as many of Thomas's builds are. You wouldn't expect it to be this sturdy just by looking at it, because it looks too good not to be in need of sacrifices, but you can swoosh this build around perfectly fine. I just grab it from behind like you did with the official LEGO sets. The only issues you might run into is in the back, where some of these panels don't have the most secure connections, but it's a section that you don't really handle too much anyways, and it's really just a couple of panels that are attached with just a couple of attachment points. The rest feels really secure and sturdy, and I don't fear anything when I fly it around. If you enjoyed today's build and you haven't pre-ordered the instructions, you can now get them directly at BrickVault.toys. I can highly recommend checking out the build, even if you're just interested in the techniques and want to learn a thing or two about custom building. You can find the link in the video description down below. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what other vehicles you would like to see us make, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.